Welcome back, y'all.
What up, Foo?
Oh, such a sad what up, Foo.
Well, because today we're talking about the fact that loud does not equal clear.
I kind of started loud.
So, but then I brought it.
Whoa.
I didn't have to be loud in order to be clear. Everyone heard me. They know what's up.
Wow.
So here's the deal. You post on social media. You got your marketing game out there. You're speaking. You're talking to people. You're writing. You're putting the blog. You're doing the Substack. I'm on that bandwagon. I'm trying to be cool.
Reddit,
LinkedIn newsletters. You're doing all the things, but your message, it doesn't feel like it's connecting. You're like, I got a lot to say. I'm super passionate about it. I feel like I'm doing the right things, but I can't seem to get through the noise. And what we're going to talk about today in this episode is we're going to explain why individuals, specifically leaders, often confuse being loud with being clear, and what it would look like to communicate in a way that actually shifts behavior. So and the reason I prefaced it with like the posts and the this and the speaking is part of being loud is that we are talking in lots of places. So we're putting our messaging in lots of areas, and we're like, oh, I'm out there. Like, it's loud. It's here, but like, it doesn't mean that it's clear. And so I think loud, of course, can be like the tone. But more specifically, it is like the frequency in which you're communicating. You're like, I'm saying it a lot. I'm doing all these things. Like, I got all this stuff going. And it could be marketing. It could also be communication with your team. You're having tons of meetings. You're like, if you find yourself in this place, you're like, dude, I'm saying it all the time. And it's in a million different places, and it's on Slack, and it's on this and Teams. And like, if it's still not getting through, then we need to shift to understand how do we actually communicate in a way that is yielding the results that we want, is shifting the behavior of the people around us. And so we're going to talk about clarity over just volume or over just frequency. But I'm sure we're going to have to answer a question before that.
Have to. I get
to be vulnerable with all of our listeners.
You get to. This is the best part of your whole month. My question for you, when is a time that your communication created the most transformation?
That's a good question. The most transformation. It's a good twist. Like, I thought I didn't know the question, but as you started to say it, I was like, oh, she's probably going to say like when it created the least clarity. I was like, there are plenty of instances of that. But most transformation. Interesting. The first thing that comes to mind, there has been some great instances. I mean, I have some real wins, and we both do. I mean, a lot of this is you and I both communicating well as it relates to like our businesses and work. But the thing that comes to mind actually is like my relationship with my wife. The biggest benefit that has come from me constantly working on being a better communicator is my ability to communicate more clearly at home and to use that to create alignment, build trust, and ultimately create transformation in the relationship that I care most about. And I think that's a really hard thing to do because it is the thing that often you get comfortable with the people that you are building a life with. And so working on communication around that, it takes a back seat, right? You're working on other things. You're very focused on communication at work. You're very right. But then like you get home and you're like, that's fine. Like, I know this person well, it's probably all right. But like, I've really worked to commit the same level of intentionality and effort to communication there that I do in other areas of my life, knowing that it has like outsized effect, outsized impact, even though it might not feel that way. Yeah, and for sure, like that's been the biggest transformation.
That's good. So it really was on no platforms. It was face to face.
Yeah, no. Yeah, not even the messaging I was putting out there.
Yeah. But you are very intentional about that. And, they say wealth whispers. I think wisdom also whispers.
Wow.
I think there's those people in your life and in the room that like they're kind of quiet until they're not. And like the whole room stops and listens because they know that like whatever is about to come out of this person's mouth is going to be wise and needed and impactful. And they probably hold some level of authority. I think that's like, that is really what we're talking about. I think the more wise you are, the more you realize you want to listen first. So on that note, Taylor, get us started here, because I think there's like a real gap in understanding how to do this well. And out of the two of us, I am the more quiet one in volume.
I was like, are you saying you're the wisest?
Just kidding. I was waiting.
I mean, you can be. I'm not saying that's not the truth.
No, we can both talk a lot. We can both put like a lot out there. No, I'm just kidding. I was totally just being a brat. No, but let's talk about the gap here. And like, I think that we all want this. We all want to be intentional, but I think there is like a real craft to this. And I think it does come with wisdom. It does come with maturity. So yeah, let's actually get into it. Thanks for your vulnerability there, by the way.
You're welcome. It's a good question. Yeah, I think it is a gap. I think it's a gap in clarity. And I think it manifests a few ways. I think one is, you're talking at people. So if we talk about it, or if we think about it through the lens of kind of the audience, then I think it's the first thing that's creating a lack of clarity, or that gap that you talked about, is that you're talking to your audience, but you're not talking with them, right? There's not an invitation. There's not a connection. It's just there's this real gap. There's a disconnect between what they're reading and they're reading, seeing, listening to, and their ability to connect that with who they think you are. And so that just breaks down trust. That's something we've been talking a lot about lately. Next is, I think the messaging is not clear, or the communication is not clear. So it's vague, or, you're using a bunch of like jargon that no one understands or connects with, or it feels really contrived. And so, when you have this like vague or like jargony messaging, it just creates confusion, right? Like no one's going to be convicted over stuff that just doesn't feel real, right? Like you have to talk and behave like a real person. And again, build trust and connection. And lastly, that there's an aspect of this where just people tune out when it doesn't resonate. So if you're talking about things that just are like in left field, or not in the same like alignment with someone's values, or the things people care about, or how they see the world, or, if you're up here and you're like, let's give a classic example of like, the person at the top of the ladder is like, oh, this is, it's super hard because I had to fly to St. Bart's this weekend and do the thing. And then like, you're telling the story to people that are like, whatever, like not in that world. They're like, yeah, I can't, like, what are you talking about?
That sounds real hard.
Yeah. They're like, fuck off. Like, like
I was trying to feed my family this weekend, but it sounds terrible.
Or even, like, even if it's like people that you work with and they're like, dude, that's not my life. I can't see that. So, again, like you have to, without resonance, there's just people tune out. They're like, well, I can't relate to that. Like, and so that of course is kind of an extreme example, or like a more verbose example, but that happens all the time. Is if you don't connect with people, if it doesn't resonate, then you're going to have a gap in clarity. And I think those are just a few of the many ways that can manifest. But I do think that's the first step, is that we have to recognize that there are things that we do, there are ways that we communicate, there are things that we put out in the world that are creating the problem, right? The thing that we actually think is hopefully solving it is actually the antithesis of that. So with that, we need to craft messaging that lands. We need to fix that. We need to actually build the resonance. So what does it look like? We created. Oh, I love a framework. I want you to have this. This is my gift to you.
I know. I was
I want
like,
you to have the framework. It's the impact framework. It's awesome. Take it away. And
great.
bask in the glory of a beautiful framework.
Taylor loves a framework, but today I'm going to break down your framework for you. So we are going to use an acrostic. Yeah? Is that what that's called?
Is that? I always get that confused.
I don't know.
It's impact down, and then there's a definition for each letter.
Yes,
Send us a comment. Let us know. Christine and I always mess it up.
Is it it's not an analogy.
It's not an analogy.
Whatever.
I think it's an acrostic. You're right.
Okay, so it's impact. It's the impact framework, because we love that word, as you found out. So this is how to craft a message that lands. So if you can remember the word impact when you are thinking about your message connecting with the person that you are trying to connect with. So I stands for issue. What's the real problem they're facing? What's the issue that the person you're talking to, that you're crafting this message for, is facing? That's the first piece. People connect out of a place of problem or an issue, and they're looking for a solution. So make sure you're clear on that solution. Second letter, M, stands for meaning. Why does it matter to them? If you can speak to why this matters to them and you can understand why this matters, you're going to connect with the person you're trying to. P stands for point. What do you want them to do or believe? Now we're starting to get into some action. How do you actually give them something that they can do or they can believe that's different than what they're doing or believing today? A is action. What's the next step? What is that next step that they can take? C is conflict. What's in their way? So what's stopping them from achieving the thing that they want to achieve, stopping them from taking the action? If you can be clear on that, you're going to help it land with the people that matter most to you. And then T, last one, is tone. Are you using or saying it in a tone of how they need to hear this? If we're talking at them, like Taylor said, instead of with them, if you're crafting a message that is preaching to them versus talking with them and having that conversation, I think it's really going to change if they listen or not. So again, we're going to go through it. Impact, issue, meaning, point, action, conflict, tone. So if you can remember those 6 things and you can build your message from that place, you're going to connect with the people you want to connect with, and your message is going to land. So make your message an invitation, not a monologue.
Love that.
Invites people in. You know, we love stories. People love a good story. That's why Marvel is a multi-billion-dollar initiative and company. It's because everybody loves a story. Everybody has something in those movies that they can connect with. And really, that's what we're talking about, is building a message that lands. So this has helped us really think about this in a way that helps us not feel like a talking head or a robot online, although it can be dynamic. And so, Taylor, when it does feel dynamic and it feels completely misaligned, like you're a talking head, break that down for us. Yeah. Why does that happen?
Sure. Yeah, I think it, even with clarity, like it is hard it can be challenging to build that bridge and to understand what the fix is there and how to actually connect and how to build that resonance. And so some of the things that create that are, when we say things like, we value transparency, but you avoid hard conversations. You avoid the truth. You say that, but it's lip service, and the people on the other end of that recognize that. That's a classic example of like, this is what you said, but it's not resonating with me. It's not connecting because I see it in your actions, right? And so again, this is where like you might be saying that a lot, like, hey, at X, Y, and Z company, like we really value transparency and communication at all costs, and then like doesn't show up in your culture. You've said it a lot, so you're loud about it, but it doesn't create clarity. Insert transparency with whatever buzzword, but this is a systemic issue in companies.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, like when
collaboration.
when we come in and like work with companies and help them build culture, it's always a version of this. Is like we're talking to the leadership, and like this is not a critical statement. Like this is why we're doing this. It is hard to see. I hope that this helps people recognize it, but like ultimately just know that like your actions have to match your language. Next, your team hears lots of noise, right? So again, one of the reasons this can happen and it creates misalignment is like you're saying a lot, but there's not clear direction. It's not actionable. It's not clear. They don't understand how they fit into that narrative. They don't understand what action they should take. Like it's a lot of stuff, but no real clear direction. So make sure that you're targeted. Make sure that you're clear. Make sure that you're decisive in your language if you want people to take a clear action. And next is that your audience isn't engaging because it doesn't feel personal. And this is, I think, ultimately kind of the condensed version of this and distilled down. I think this is the biggest thing. Again, it's like, I don't know who you are. Those are fine words. That's a good story. It feels like someone else's story. It doesn't feel like your story. And so it doesn't feel personal. People respond to emotion. People respond to connection. People respond to feeling like they have a relationship with someone, and it doesn't have to be personal. It could be with, an article they're reading. Like if they can see themselves and connect with the person and feel that connection on the other side, that's when it sticks, right? That's when it's real. So if it's misaligned, if you're like, okay, I hear you, but what? These are three things to check. One, again, like make sure that your language matches your actions or your action matches your language. Make sure that you are clear and decisive. It's not just noise. And make sure that things feel personal. Make sure that you're connecting with people. Again, like ultimately we're all in a position to just build relationships and connection. Like that's the thing that moves the world, regardless of technology, regardless of all the things. Like that's our job, right? Show up, do that well, and you'll be okay. That's 95% of it. So just know that, the real solution here is that clarify what you stand for. Clarify what you want to put out in the world, how you want to connect, how you show up for other people. And then just, again, you can use the like impact framework that you talked about. You can use that to recognize that ultimately like story is always better than a slogan. So if you just tell your story well, if you're honest, if you're transparent in a real way, that's better than like any sort of like cool, kitschy marketing. Like, just tell your story, be real. By all means, like be polished, be prepared, be strategic, but be real. And when we do that, that tends to break down the things that are creating misalignment. So bring us on home.
Leadership challenge. People are like, are we ever going to stop doing this?
I don't think so.
Oh, the people love it. Give the people what they want.
I will not take that from the people.
Everyone's like, who? Yeah. I want to see.
Yeah. Raise your hand, people.
Okay. So leadership challenge today is otter.
That's not going to bring the people in.
We're talking about clear communication. Yeah. I was just showing you how not to do it. Audit your last three pieces of communication. And I'll bring it back to Taylor's example. Like maybe this is with your spouse. Maybe this is not with your team. Maybe this is not online. Maybe this wasn't in your book. It's just your last three pieces of communication. Just like be curious about it. Audit it. Were they clear or just loud? Were they just noisy and there was no clarity there? And if so, make one adjustment this week in your tone, your structure, your focus, and watch how these changes really impact the way that it lands and the way that you're connecting with people. I think if we just get curious about this and we take a second to understand how people experience us and understand if our communication isn't clear to the other person, then it wasn't clear. So take the time to just get curious, take an audit, and then make some adjustments. You don't have to change everything, just change a few things. And sometimes the people who are closest to you can tell you how clear you are.
One of the clearest ways you can communicate is by rating, subscribing, and sharing this podcast.
Wow.
Ooh, yeah, right? That was solid.
That was a transition.
You're welcome, people.
You can rate that transition. Wow, Taylor Thomas, he does a transition like no other.
But yeah, if we would love for you to share this podcast with someone that you truly think it would resonate with. We're here to be a value add. We want to support as many people as we can. And to do that, we want to grow our listener base. The community for this podcast has been incredible. It continues to grow, but we'd love your help in helping us getting the word out. So share this episode, or if you're a listener, share one of your favorite episodes from the past with someone that you think it would resonate with. And if you've yet to do so, rate us on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so you can get updated for our weekly podcast episodes. They drop every Friday morning. They're quick, easy, consumable, so you can hit the ground running. We're not going to bog you down, take up much of your time. We want to get in, get out, give you something you can chew on, something you can implement, and move through the rest of your day. And as always, you can find us on impactinitiative.network. Lots of stuff we're up to. You can find this podcast there, as well as the blog, as well as events we're at. So always updating the site. Lots of cool stuff going on. Again, that's impactinitiative.network. And then last but not least, you can find us in Denver, Colorado for our health and fitness business roundtable. If you're a health and wellness entrepreneur and you're looking to collaborate, build your business, and flatten the learning curve, we'd love for you to join us on November 19th. That's going to be our next free in-person event, and we would love to see you there. Until then, we'll see you next time on Impact Minded.
Bye, y'all.